Will's going to give us his story.
So thank you all. So 99 Res is a movement of people, but it's also a movement of stories.
Mike, close louder!
Mike, closer, sorry. I'll try and remember that. Just if I ever don't keep it close to my mouth, please shout out. All right. So we're a movement of stories too, and we tell our stories using a technique called public narrative. So I'm going to tell a story about what draws me to the march, or to be on the march. I'm marching the whole way, all 480 miles. And this is my first time telling this story to such a large group, so sorry if it's a bit unpolished and I'm nervous.
Go, Will!
We love you, Will.
Yeah!
Yes, great.
So I grew up in rural Kentucky amid really lush, beautiful green forests. And the beauty of nature there was really in stark contrast to the pervasive poverty and the ill effects it had on the society. Now, I was a nerd growing up, and that came with certain things, like the social ills really translated into bullying at school. Middle school bullies really loved to make fun of me for lots of different things. Bullies love to make fun of me for lots of different things, like the way I look, the fact that I have glasses, for my voice, and just whatever was in their mind at the moment. And I think I developed a little social anxiety around that, but I also developed a really stubborn and patient strength. And I really deeply and desperately wanted a way to fight this bullying and a way to end it. And so my parents, in their wisdom, introduced me to Gandhi and to nonviolence. And they suggested that I could try some of these methods to end the bullying. And I figured I'd give it a shot. I fancied myself a scientist at the time, and still do a little bit, and so I decided I'd do some experiments just like Gandhi did. So there was a bully named Anthony. He was a rich kid and really liked to target me for a tongue lashing to impress his friends. And one day we were waiting in line in a hallway, and I was in line near him. And he was complaining to some of his friends that he had bit his cheek and it had gotten infected and he had a canker sore. So I saw this as an opportunity and I really pounced on it. I told him that I had the same problem sometimes and that I found that using hydrogen peroxide really helped solve the problem. He kind of listened to me and then shrugged off my advice and went back to talking with his friends. But then a week later, I was getting thirsty. It was between classes, and I was walking down the hall, turned the corner to the water fountain, and there he was at the water fountain getting a drink. And I was thirsty and time was almost up, so I just waited in line behind him. And he turned around and saw me, and he looked me straight in the eye, and he thanked me for that advice. And I noticed in the next few weeks and several months that he'd reduced his amount of bullying. He still kind of ridiculed me sometimes, but the venom had kind of gone out of his ridicule. And I was really taken aback at how that whole situation turned out. Just one little experiment had yielded such a wealth of results for me. My 12-year-old self was really elated. I had managed to convert a bully. So I started to work on other bullies. I managed to convert all of them. And I was rarely bullied by the end of my middle school career. And in fact, I have another astounding story from my sophomore year of high school about a bully named Brad. So a group of my friends and I were sitting at a lunch table, and Brad came to sit down with us. We were talking about some nerdy subject, and I think Brad started getting bored or something, and he started being a jerk to people. He was interrupting us with nonsense and ridiculing and calling people names. So after a few minutes, one of my friends, with a little bit more courage than me, asked him to leave, and he said that the whole group wanted him to leave. And so Brad asked the whole group, "Is that what you all want?" And we all kind of nodded. And then he looked at me and said some words that I will probably remember for the rest of my life. "Even you, Will? I thought we were friends."
Wow.
And this was a guy I did not consider my friend. He was more of an opponent. I was really just flabbergasted. And like I could tell he was looking me straight in the eye. He was really sincere about this. And what's even more, I could tell he felt betrayed by me because I wanted him to leave because he was being a jerk. So I really, I thought about this for days and weeks after, and I really started feeling the power of nonviolence. Like I not only humanized myself in Brian's eyes, but I really won him over. He was my opponent, someone I was wary of, and then he was thinking of me as his ally. It was just crazy to me. Something that violence could really never accomplish, and something that I had no idea I had the power to do. So those early experiments in nonviolence were really quite moving to me. Of course, in political movements, converting an opponent is a bit harder. They have more vested interest than the bullies do in ridiculing me. So, I felt the power of nonviolence really strongly, and I've been experimenting with it for my whole life. And it's really been a very fulfilling and rewarding experience. And there's another experience that has also driven my experimenting with nonviolence. So in that same lunchroom that I was sitting with my friends where Brad came to sit with us, that place was really a challenge to me. My high school was 40% African American and 50% white and 10% Latino. And in our lunchroom, there was very little racial mixing. So we had the white people all sat here, the African Americans all sat here, and the Latinos kind of sat in a triangle to the side. And this was very disturbing to me. I didn't know what to do about it, and there was no policy that mandated this segregation. It was just kind of the collective decisions of all the students. I'm sure the administration could have done something to really get people to be with each other more, but they didn't. It was de facto segregation, and I felt really trapped in this unjust institution, this unjust cultural institution. I felt powerless to change it. And every day for 4 years, I'd walk into that place and be confronted with this situation. And live that injustice, because I had to participate in it. That's where all my friends were sitting, and I wasn't welcome in other places. So, day after day, I felt powerless and trapped. I really wanted to do something about it, but none of my friends really wanted to do anything. I had no one to organize with. And I didn't really know what to do either. I didn't know how to tackle the issue. So I went back to Gandhi and I looked at how nonviolence happened, what the strategy is. And so I started to investigate. Investigation is the first step in any nonviolence campaign, and I set to work doing that, observing and thinking. And that brought me, that mental exercise really did bring me some solace. I wasn't able to change that situation, but it really, that investigation really set me on my life's path of trying to understand the systems that we are confronted with in our society and that we live in. And one of the major lessons I learned was that I feel really disempowered when I lack a community of people to work with. And so that's something I really look for. I need that community of people to work with. I need that support. I need the friendship. I really need the connection. I think if I had a strong community of people who I could work with, we would have been able to tackle that issue and do something about it. We could have desegregated my lunchroom. So kind of fast forward to the present day, I still have the recurring feeling of being trapped in unjust institutions. They're kind of all around us, but I'm sure I'm not alone in this. So I've been looking at the recent Supreme Court decisions that have given wealthy interest groups basically unlimited abilities to pay money into our political system. And other Supreme Court cases, or the Supreme Court cases have also said money is speech. Now, it has some crazy implications. Here's one example. I love Sabra hummus. It's just kind of creamy and delicious. And I don't know how they'd make it, but it's really good. But one of the companies that owns Sabra spends its money on some things I disagree with. And that means my money is being used against my interests and against the things I believe in. It's really unfortunate, but buying that hummus has become an act of speech. I'm literally giving a corporation a voice to speak against my interests. And I have no control over what that corporation says. I mean, this is really a black market of speech. It's horrible. Of course, I can stop buying Sabra hummus, but what about electricity? Like, I don't think I can live my life without electricity, and I have to buy it from PG&E, and I have to buy it, and PG&E has a monopoly, so I can't buy it from anyone else. And a percentage of the money PG&E takes in, they spend on lobbying and on funding campaigns for politicians. And I'm sure they use that money to try and reduce the regulations that control what they do. I disagree with, like, those regulations, a lot of them are really important. Regulations on gas lines, super important. There was an explosion a few years ago, a few towns south of here, that probably happened, like, if regulations had been in place that required repairing those gas lines, that explosion that killed people would not have happened. And I'm sure they spent money lobbying to reduce those regulations and the money that PG&E has to spend on keeping its own stuff from exploding. So, man, this system really makes me feel trapped sometimes. I have to pay that money. But, it's like being back in that lunchroom, trapped and powerless. But I've found that inspiration and community, they're cures for that feeling. Now, my friend Kai, who's a national organizer with 99 Rise, he did something that was really inspiring a few months ago. So the Supreme Court recently heard arguments about a case on a free speech challenge to limits on the amount that individual donors can donate in political campaigns. So Kai was there. I don't know if y'all have seen the video of this, but there is a video of it. He stood up, and in front of the Supreme Court, he told them that the American people wanted them to get money out of politics and disagreed with Citizens United. And, like, we want our democracy back. Man, I got dang shivers. He was speaking up there for me. He was saying the things that I've been thinking for years. And I knew he made a sacrifice to do it. He was manhandled by those guards, and he was put in jail for a little bit. And there's really a lot of power in that sacrifice, more than most people think. Kai's sacrifice moved me to be more involved, and that's where the true power of nonviolence is. It moves people's hearts. It gets more people on board, it brings people together, and it helps them make sacrifices, and it kind of snowballs from there. And to make these sacrifices, we really need a strong community of people supporting us. Kai had a strong community in 99 Rise, and still does. We support him, we care about him, we care about each other. And that's why I keep working with 99 Rise, is because of the community we have, and we care about each other, and for each other. Because, with each other, we can do more than we could possibly do alone. This community of activists is the group of people I've been looking for since I was in that lunchroom. It's so great. In that lunchroom, I was wishing I could invoke the power of nonviolence, and now I can take a step beyond that and go into action. I believe we can do this. I'm marching because I want to get our democracy back. I'm marching because I felt the power of nonviolence, and I love it. I want to feel it more, and again, it's great. And I'm marching because of this loving community. You guys are so amazing. You all support me. I mean, look at all these people in this room. This is so great. I don't know, like, going into walking 480 miles after this event, it's just it feels so amazing. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kentucky. We need each other to do this. We need you. So if you want to get involved in our loving chapter, you can talk to David. There's a table out there too. And I know a lot of you are really busy with your own really important projects, and I totally understand. That's amazing. We're all allies. All of our stuff is interconnected. Keep working on the things that you're working on, and we'll keep working on our stuff, and let's stay in touch and do this together. It's really together. That's how we get there. So thank you all for being here, for being awesome, and for bringing so much joy into my life.
So Will made this point
Wow.
better than I ever could hope to, but we really are about community here at I Rise. It's not just the political mission, which is so urgent and so important. It's about coming together with people who share that passion, but also want to start creating the worlds that we won't feel trapped to live in, that we can feel potential and support within, and not have to do things that violate our conscience. And part of that community building exercise that we build into our meetings